go. Unfreaking believable. Unbelievable. I gotta be honest with you, that game drove me nuts. I cannot believe the Buccaneers lost that game. Wow. I don't even know what to say. Tough one. Man, that was an absolute laser from Cooch, wasn't it? What a crazy game. The Bulls are bowl-bound for the third season in a row. An incredible performance. And listen, we know the competition. They did what they had to do. No more silver linings. No more moral victories. It was put up or shut up time. And boy, did they rise to the occasion.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Recher podcast. Happy March 18, 2026, Wednesday. Whether you're there in the Tampa Bay area, not here because I'm not there yet. One more show this week on location in the Carolinas. And then let's not forget off Friday because we'll be at the Valspar with the folks. Make sure the microphone right here so everybody can see me. Hope everybody's doing well. Appreciate everybody that's got in on the Recher bracket challenge already. Let's post it again right here. If you want to get in, we've got 30. I wanted to get 20 people on the bracket challenge. We are up to 36 people involved. And here's the link right there. Boom. If you want to get involved with the Recher bracket challenge, if they do ask you for a password, the password is pancake. Some people needed it. Some people didn't need it. I don't know why. I don't know the difference, but get in. We're trying to get up to 50 people. You only have one day left, but we got a lot of different entries and can't wait to see who comes out on top. And if you do win, you will be eligible to come on the show and brag about your bracket. If I win, oh man, you guys, let me just say you guys don't want that. You don't want that because I am going to be very braggadocious on that day. Make sure you follow me on all social media platforms, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, TikTok. I am everywhere. Like and subscribe on YouTube as well. Yeah, great show lined up for you guys today. Got my UT polo on today. Love to Joe Urso, Sammy Militello, Jose Jimenez, and the whole crew over there. They're obviously a top 5 team in Division II baseball. How about our USF baseball team, currently number 25 in the perfect game college baseball rankings? Coach Mitch Hanna is doing an incredible job. Another win yesterday, a run rule victory. They are crushing it. Absolutely crushing it. A big thank you to Honest Hammer Custom Builders, LLC, and Evra Health, our partners here on the Recher podcast. We have a huge show today. Huge show for you guys. We're going to start off talking World Baseball Classic and what happened last night for Team USA against Venezuela. Also, the Lightning get back on track with a win in Seattle against the Kraken. 12:30, Bob Harig joins us from Sports Illustrated. The upcoming Valspar Championship starts tomorrow over there at Innisbrook. If you are going on Friday or Sunday, make sure you come by and say hello. We'll be by the 8th green on Friday and then the 18th green on Sunday. So make sure you come on by, say hello to us. Also, 1 o'clock today, one of the voices of the USF Bulls, USF Athletics as a whole. He knows a lot about a lot. One of the smartest guys I've ever met. And you cannot write a book about Tampa Bay sports if he's not involved. And it's the one and only Joey Johnston. He is there in Buffalo. He will join us on the show at 1 o'clock today. The Bulls are everywhere, buddy. They are everywhere. It's a really cool time to be a member of Bulls Nation. And we just heard the news. Michael Brown, the standout player for Louisville, will not be playing tomorrow for Louisville. So what does that mean for the Bulls? What does that mean for the Bulls? I don't know. You never know, man. I don't want to. It doesn't guarantee anything because sometimes the team rallies around not having their best player. USF still has to go out there and do the job, but one of the big question marks going into that game was the status of Michael Brown, and he is out. Coach Pat Kelsey just confirmed, so he's just not there yet. So we'll see. We'll talk more USF basketball with Joey Johnston at 1 o'clock, and then we move them back so we can get a little sleep. Erik Erlendsson, LightningInsider.com, joins us at 1:30 to discuss that win last night over Seattle. All right, questions, comments, concerns, leave them there at the bottom of the screen. Again, I want you guys involved in the bracket challenge. There's a link right there, whether you're on your phone, whether you're on your laptop. Join in. have some fun. We're up to 36 now. Let's try to get up to 50. Everybody kill that like button right now, whether you're watching on Facebook, YouTube, or Twitter/X. Share this on all your social media platforms. A big shout out to my guy, Marco. You the best. USA dropped that WBC game. We spoke a lot about our friends over at Alfonso's Pizzeria. Go check them out on the corner of Florida and Bears. Tell them that you heard it right here on the Jay Recher podcast. David Terry. Well, we got 2 points last night. Cooch is on a heater. Unfortunately, Hedman looked lethargic again. I'm going to explain why I don't agree with you, D. And it's very important. And this goes into what we were talking about yesterday. I understand why you're saying that. I'm going to give you the other side of the coin there. Benny got his bracket in. I finally know what your last name is, Benny. That's awesome. Brett Holcomb's in the house. Joey Johnston legend. You got that right, pal. Rolly's just not into college basketball. Now's the time, Rolly. Get into it just for a couple of weeks. I'd rather Kevin Cash coach Team USA than Mark DeRosa. Hammer's in the house. He's going to come on by. Eric Marino, what's up, Jay? Got back from Maui yesterday. Lots of rain, but had a great time. Good, man. And I got some of the videos you sent. You are the best, buddy. I really hope you had a good time. Eric Marino, one of our top guys here on our show, the Jay Recher podcast, the Wrecking Crew, working on the t-shirts, guys. They are coming, and I know that you guys have seen the podcast, the logo. We're going to continue to push that out there, and we'll have shirts before you know it. Can we please hand Cooch the Hart Trophy right now? Yeah, I said that last night. I think no doubt about it. What he can do on the ice, nobody else can do. It's just the speed that he's able to operate. He doesn't have to be bigger, faster, and stronger than everybody. He's just smarter. And you hate to compare him to a guy like Wayne Gretzky, but he's the only other guy that I've really seen do something like that. Everybody else to go whizzing by. I mean, you look at McDavid, and you look at McDonough, you look at McCarr, you look at these top guys, and you realize, like, they're fast as hell, and they just blow past people. Cooch doesn't really need to do that. He's got eyes on the back of his head, on the side of his head, in front of his head. It's freaking nuts, man. It is nuts. Eric, wish I could tell my dad, hey, Dad, I finally made it to Hawaii and miss him. I wish I could have done more stuff with him before he got sick, but I got to stay strong. Can't get him out of my head. Thanks, Jay. He's always going to be there in your head. He's always going to be there in your heart, buddy, and we are always here for you, Eric. You never forget that, pal. And he's looking down, smiling, and happy that you went to Hawaii, brother. He is very happy that you went there. So you stay strong, man. You just know that we're always here for you, Eric. You are not alone, buddy. You are not alone. Gio tweeted USF would beat UConn and Washington, D.C. Regionals on March 1st. You know, you've got experience of having these incredible prognostications, Gio. So I hope you are right. All right, let's get into the World Baseball Classic. A tough loss for Team USA last night. And I'm going to dispel some of the things that I'm hearing, because there's a lot of things that I really just I don't agree with, including some of the comments we've already had. Let me put it to like this. Team USA did not lose that game last night because they didn't care as much as Venezuela. At the end, did that win mean more to Venezuela? Maybe. But you could argue that the Canadians, if they would have won the gold medal, would have meant more to them in hockey. But it doesn't matter. That shit doesn't. Those teams are trying out there. They're giving it all they have. Don't tell me you can't. Baseball's not one of those games where you can half-ass it. You can't. Guys are throwing 97, 98 miles an hour. You can't just half-ass it. You would be able to tell from a mile away. And there's something that has to do with pride and ego. Like, these guys wanted to win. I don't want to hear people talking about USA losing that game last night. The USA did not lose. Venezuela won. The Venezuelans won that game. They were the better team last night. The USA didn't choke. They lost. I know I said they didn't lose, but of course they lost. But it wasn't that they lost the game. You understand what I'm saying, right? It wasn't like they lost and they blew it and they choked the game away. Venezuela was a better team. Eduardo Rodriguez outpitched Nolan McLean. Fine. They came up with the big hit. Eugenio Suarez with the big double. They're late in the game off of Garrett Whitlock, who's been fantastic for Team USA. It happens. The margins are so fine. The margins were so fine. When you get to the best of the best, the last two games were 2-1 and 3-2. And for people to be surprised that Team USA lost that game last night. Why? Why were you surprised? Great pitching always beats great hitting. This isn't something that just started in 2026. It's been like this is the beginning of baseball. That vaunted Dominican Republic lineup, I don't give a shit about those 2 bad calls by the umpire. They scored 1 run. Why? Because the pitching for Team USA was better. They made the pitches when they had to. We're always looking at like trying to attack people like you lost, you fucked up, you screwed up, you choked. That's not the way it goes. One team's got to force that issue and put the pressure on them. It's one thing if you're making a bunch of self-inflicted wounds and you're throwing the ball around on basic routine hoppers, okay. But you got Eduardo Rodriguez throwing his ass off yesterday, a veteran. Like this meant everything for Venezuela. There's nothing wrong with that. You know, I find it ironic too how people want to bash the Americans that take pride in our sports, but then those same people don't say shit about Venezuela, a long-known socialist country. We know that everything's going on with there, but nobody wants to get on the Venezuelans for being prideful of their country in athletics. You know why? Because it's stupid. It's stupid to be mad at people for celebrating ventures in sports. That's entertainment. That's an escape from the realities and the unfortunate circumstances that happen in countries all around the world. It's supposed to be fun. I can't believe we'd be happy about Team USA. Does this mean you don't care about what's going on in Minnesota or the water? No. Why do people have to be so shallow and short-sighted and not be able to compartmentalize sports that is supposed to be an escape from reality and what is actually going on in the country and in the world? If you can't do that, that's on you, nobody else. I can be proud as shit of Jack Hughes. It doesn't mean I condone other things that happen. Why is that such a conversation that needs to be had? I think it's just so strange. I really do. Really do. Shout out to the Venezuelans. You should be proud. You've been busting your ass. You played the game the right way. They played with a lot of energy and passion. So did Team USA. Bryce Harper hits the home run. He's there saluting the badge. Was that not passion? Was he being too workmanlike and running around the bases acting like he didn't give a crap? Bro, they couldn't hit. You want them to be all happy and shit when they're struggling and they're trying to put their best foot forward? I cannot stand when people are saying, oh, this team didn't win because they didn't care or they didn't try or they don't give a shit. Like, get real. Get real. Sometimes, I know this is weird for people to say, and especially the geeks and nerds out there that want to quantify everything with numbers. Sometimes you're just not good enough. Sometimes you just didn't play well enough. It's not more complicated than that. There's 2 teams out there. Sometimes one team plays better than the other. And when it's not a 7-game series and it's just one game, win or go home, it doesn't matter what would happen in the majority of the time. All you got to do is be better on that one day. That's all that counts. And that's exactly what happened last night with Venezuela. They were better last night. I got no issues with that. And I think the Americans should hold their head high. And I don't think I have any issues with what happened last night. They just got beat by a better team. And I don't want to hear, oh, if they would have played 10, they don't play 10 times. They play once. One time. That's it. And they lost. Tip your hat and you move on. They just beat the Dominicans, who a lot of people thought were probably the favorite because of that lineup. The U.S. won that game. Was it because they cared more? Because they gave, they had more energy than the Dominicans. They lost and they didn't have as much energy. It's just the way it goes. It's the culture. There's nothing wrong with that. And I got to make myself perfectly clear about a couple more things. The whole Tarik Skubal thing, the guy wanted to be a part of it. Obviously, him pitching when he knows that he's starting opening day for the Detroit Tigers, he and the Tigers and Team USA, they came to an agreement that it wasn't a smart idea for him to be able to go take the ball in the championship game. Whether you agree or you don't agree, the people that pay your salary, they kind of have precedent in a situation like this. And we'll talk more about that in a second as well. But the fact that this guy wanted to be around, he wanted to be a part of this entire situation, people are getting mad at him for that? What kind of sense does that make? We want to be mad at somebody that wants to be around a good thing? we got some jacked up opinions in this country, man. Who gives a shit why he wants to be there? Wants to be there. The more the merrier. Don't you guys remember that? The more the merrier. You want more people to contribute to a positive thing. Tariq Skubal, you know, if he think about it like this, if the guy was there and he couldn't, you don't think he wanted to pitch? He was there and he was off the roster, so he didn't take anybody's spot. Doesn't matter. He pitched one game, did all he had to do, and then, listen, left, did his thing with the Tigers, and came back to support the team. What is wrong with that? Very, very strange the hills that we want to die on when we have conversations about sports. And to be completely transparent, I think you all need to get your head checked. I was very vocal about how I did not love how Mark DeRosa kind of approached early on in this tournament. I didn't really appreciate the comments that he made because I thought he made light of it. But with that being said, I think if I know this is weird for some people after what I said, but you know, you're allowed to change the way you feel based on new information. If you don't, you're just archaic and just a gargoyle. I did not really appreciate Mark DeRosa early on in this tournament. But if you are sitting there and you are blaming him for why Team USA lost to Venezuela in the championship game, I think you're dead wrong. DeRosa could not go up to the plate and swing the bat for Aaron Judge and Kyle Schwarber. You're talking about your 3 and 4 hitters that combined to go 0 for 7 with 6 strikeouts in that game. What? 0 for 7 with 6 strikeouts. That's Mark DeRosa's fault? No. Look in the mirror. Is it Mark DeRosa's fault that Bobby Witt Jr., a guy that's quicker than a hiccup, that's faster than hell, is hitting fly balls, trying to go big fly all the time and not putting the ball in the ground and using his speed? No. The players play the game. So much heat on Mark DeRosa for who he played and who he didn't play. Listen, Pete Crow Armstrong was 0 for 3 in the last game, and now you put Eduardo Rodriguez on the mound, a left-handed pitcher. You're going to start Byron Buxton. You're going to see if he can give you something. He got 1 at-bat. I don't think it was that egregious. And listen, Pete came in after that, and he was 0 for 2. The decision not to play and not to hit Cal Raleigh. Have you guys watched Cal Raleigh in this tournament? He was the guy that was going to be the starter, and he looked abysmal. And I don't know if you guys remember this, because nowadays I think people just want to talk without listening. Remember, God gave us 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason. Joe Davis on the broadcast said that the discussions with Cal Raleigh, that he didn't feel good about his swing. So if you're not feeling good at this point of the year, when, again, it's not an excuse, it's a reason. Guys are not used to ramping it up this early in the calendar year. Cal Raleigh as an option to swing the bat did not look great. And then, oh yeah, you had Will Smith, who, let's see, what's the last thing he hit the game-winning home run in Game 7 of the World Series just a couple of months ago. He had a hit the other night. I know the at-bats last night weren't great, but to act like there was some schlub that they put in there instead of Cal Raleigh is just completely incorrect. Why did Alex Bregman play over Gunnar Henderson? Oh, I don't know. Maybe because he had a .333 average against Eduardo Rodriguez. Gunnar Henderson, 0 against Eduardo, a guy in Gunnar Henderson that batted .224 against left-handed pitching in 2025. These decisions weren't all that tough. And then people will say, well, why didn't Mason Miller throw the 9th inning? They said it on the broadcast. They said that there was an agreement with the San Diego Padres that if it wasn't a save situation, he wasn't going to pitch. And then you see people online, Mark DeRosa, what is wrong with this guy? Why didn't he pitch Mason Miller? Are y'all not listening? Do you have Aerosmith playing in the background? Pay attention. And here's the other thing, what people like nobody's mentioning. Palencia, who got the final 3 outs for Venezuela, when he took the rubber, they said the same thing about him. He wasn't going to pitch unless it was a safe situation. You will only hear what you want to hear. You want to blame managers and their decisions. Mark DeRosa didn't put up 2 runs against DR and 2 runs against Venezuela. You've got Aaron Judge and Kyle Schwarber in the middle of your lineup. They didn't do anything. They had 3 hits against Venezuela. Not good enough. The players weren't good enough. Now, some people will say, well, you pinch hit Cal Raleigh in the 9th inning. He had 60 home runs last year. Okay, I can see where you're coming from. But honestly, with the way that they've swung the bat, do you want Cal Raleigh in that spot over Gunnar Henderson? I don't. You're going to put Cal Raleigh in there over Roman Anthony, who I know was 0-for and struck out, but he hit the home run 2 nights ago against the Dominican. So it's so easy to sit there on your couch and armchair quarterback the entire way. That's not the way it goes. That is not the way it goes. If Mark DeRosa truly was at fault and was the number one person to blame, I would crack this microphone today and I would say that is the case. It's not. It's not. I've been staunch in my position on how I don't appreciate his candor and his flippant attitude about this. But this isn't on him. This isn't on him. And people want to talk about buy-in and all these different things. And listen, the guys that were there gave it all that. They lost by 1 run in the championship game. 1 run. You act like they got embarrassed and they like got bounced out in pool play. They almost did, but they didn't. And they came back and they won some games. And they were 1 run shy. So let's not act like this is a complete meltdown. And this is like an abomination. Like baseball is a global game. They've only won 1. Japan, DR, and now Venezuela. I don't see anything wrong with that. You look at Ronald Acuna Jr. You look at guys like Miguel Cabrera on the bench, the influence that he had as a young player with the Marlins and the Tigers. Bro, this is what you want. I think this is the best case scenario. U.S. making it to the championship game. Everybody was locked into that one. And then Venezuela, you got a new winner. I hope this continues the fervor and continues the excitement about this game, not just this year, but for the next World Baseball Classic as well. All right. Before we get to Bob Harig talking all things Valspar, I wanted to bring up what I saw last night for the Tampa Bay Lightning. And I got to be honest with you. It's a big step in the right direction. A big step in the right direction. Now, if you watched the show yesterday, I told you that I thought that these 2 games right here were winnable games to the Tampa Bay Lightning, but it was not going to reveal whether everything was solved. And if you look at it last night, outside of that second period a little bit when Seattle had a push, the Lightning really didn't have to defend all that much. They're not an offensive juggernaut. Their best defense last night was their offense because they spent so much time in the Seattle zone. I love the work they did in the corners. I love the work they did in the front of the net. Nikita Kucherov, if he doesn't win the MVP this year, I don't understand what people are watching. It's just no big deal. Another huge night for Kuch. The passes are incredible. The 2 best passes that he had last night didn't even lead to goals. Think about that. And you heard Jen Botterill on the broadcast last night. I was watching nationally because obviously I wasn't there locally. And just marveling at how incredible he is. The lines, you're starting to see It makes sense. Point, Gensel, and Gonsalves has got a nice groove to it. Hagel, Sorelli, and Kucherov. My God. My God. And then we know the work put forth by Yanni Gord and Zemgus Girgensons and Pontus Holberg. I call him Pompous. You were not Pompous. He's such a nice guy. It did piss me off, though, last night. I know you guys I just put this on Twitter a little while ago. I don't know if you saw the video by Kyle Brandt, because everybody's been saying Trevor Etienne. It used to be Trevor Etienne, Travis Etienne, the brothers that have been in, good running backs in college football and the pros, and letting everybody know, hey, it's Etienne. And I think about that with me, of like, people still call me Jay Recher. Like, have some respect. I was on a show called Beckles and Recher. This is the Jay Recher podcast. When you call me Recher or Recher, it shouldn't bother me, but it does. Have some respect for people's names. And last night, listen to Colby Armstrong call him Yanni Gord, like, it's Yanni, bro, Yanni Gord. It's not that hard. He played in Seattle. He's been in the league for a decade. He has 2 Stanley Cups. Put some respect on the guy's name. Now, I wanted to see how the deep pairings were going to look, and this is to what you were talking about, David, Terry, before. I wanted to see what was going on with Hedman and Chernak. And you actually saw on one of the goals, right, some of the issues that those guys had playing together, but it got better as the game went on. When you look at Hetty was on the left side, and there was 2 guys, and he made a little bit of a mistake, and the one guy blew by him, and Chernak did not want to leave the front of the net. And there was a little bit of a hesitation. He didn't really know what was going on. And that sometimes leads to a goal, and that's what happened last night. But outside of that, I thought Victor Hedman and Erik Chernak played better together than maybe I've ever seen them before, outside of that, little stretch there in the second period. Because Hetty kind of stayed to his side a little bit more, right? He kind of, understood. And I think, again, the proof of concept is not there. I get that. But I wonder if playing this way can actually help, or playing with Erik Chernak can help Victor Hedman moving forward. Because we saw Zdeno Chara, as he got older, really kind of adapt his style so that he can play into his late 30s and early 40s. Victor Hedman's going to have to do that same thing. Rely less on his speed, more on his reach, more on his smarts and his hockey IQ. And maybe playing with a guy that's up and back more, like an Erik Chernak, will help him and kind of round out his game and force him to be a little bit more sound defensively. I saw that last night. Was it challenged all that much? No. There's just not high-end offensive talent on Seattle. And to be fair, you're not going to see it as much tomorrow night against the Vancouver Canucks. But on Saturday, when you travel to Edmonton to take on the Oilers, and I know that Leon Draisaitl has been ruled out for the year, but they still have firepower there. And you have Connor McDavid. They're going to get up and down. Even if Leon is not on the ice, this is still a team that can put the puck in the back of the net. That is going to be the real challenge. I'm not even looking at Sunday's game. Back-to-back, West Coast against the Flames. Whatever. I'm not putting too much stock into that game. Saturday night is the game that I have circled. What kind of performance will we see there? I don't care if the Lightning lose that game 2-1. I want to see what kind of defense the Lightning bring to the table. That's the most important thing. Even if they win 6-5 or 5-4, I'm going to be like, great. 2 points is great. I'm never going to turn that down. I'd rather have that. When we're talking about looking for something specific, you want to see the Lightning playing the right way. And the only way that is playing well defensively. They're going to score. We saw that. But you look at the Kraken, they don't challenge them at the blue line. They easy entries. They didn't have as much pressure. And we know that's really the way that you defend this Lightning team. We didn't see that. You're going to see that, or an effort for that, or of that, on Saturday night against the Oilers, even though they don't have Leon Draisaitl. So we'll see. But you just got to keep winning. Got to keep munching points. Buffalo's not losing. Doesn't seem like ever. Ever. All right. So our guy, Bob Harig, is going to join us here momentarily to talk all things Valspar, ValsparChampionship.com, all your information on there. We just saw some news with forever. It's one of the best lines in any movie in Sandlot. Forever. One of the best sports movies of all time. Sandlot. That's got to be top 3, top 5. Yeah, no doubt about it. Cannot not wait for this weekend. Cannot wait for the Valspar. And let's bring him in, our number one.
How you doing, Jay?
I'm good, pal. How's it feel to be not too far from home?
It's great. It's great. It's nice. Nice to be close by. Yep.
Yeah, definitely, man. All right, let's get right into it. I mean, Victor Hovland coming back. I mean, what are the chances that he can make it 2 in a row? Because, man, what an incredible journey he had last year to play in the tournament and then win it.
Yeah, listen, you never know with Victor because the way he talks, you'd think that he's shooting 90 every day out there. And he did that last year. Even after he won, he talked about how unhappy he was with his ball striking and, it just happened to go where I was looking. You know, I mean, it just kind of points out that, like how good these guys are and how much they get feedback from the way they hit the ball and their and when it doesn't feel right, they're not happy. And he's changed coaches again. He hasn't won since last year, but he's not missed a cut either. It's not like he's been awful. So he's an interesting character in that regard because he's so hard on himself.
Bob, I love to hear what other people are kind of saying about the Valspar. Obviously, we're biased. It's so important, and we just love being around Tracy and Rondé and everybody. But what's kind of the general perception as of now of the Valspar as far as the importance to play it, obviously on that backswing of the Florida Tour or the Florida swing there. What are people saying about this tournament going into it this season?
Yeah, look, I think the general consensus is that there's a lot of players that really like the golf course. And it's, it's in a tough spot following so many big events. You had the Players last week. You had the Arnold Palmer the week before. Those are kind of must-play events for the big guys, and it's you're just not going to get everybody because of that. But yet they look at who they still got. A lot of tournaments. The Cognizant 3 weeks ago had no top 30 players in the world, whereas the Valspar has, I believe, they have 9 of the top 20. They have a very good representation of players. Xander's here and Patrick Cantlay, Jordan Spieth, who's not in the top 50 right now, but he's still a name. Justin Thomas decided to play here. He just came back a few weeks ago after a back surgery, and now he's playing his 3rd in a row. He loves the golf course. I think a lot of them really like the golf course, and that's schedule and golf course are the 2 biggest factors in getting guys to play outside of those big signature events where they almost are obligated to show up for those. The money and the points are so big and the pressure is on to play them. So when they get a good field here, it's kind of an indication that they like the place, and it's also in a good spot. It's 3 weeks before the Masters, so like there's 2 more tournaments after this before the Masters. Some guys will play those. That's why they're skipping this week, but some guys don't like those, and so they'd rather play now. And so it kind of works. They've made the best of a tough situation following 2 really, really big events.
How much of it has to go into like Tracy West and the effort? She's, pounding the pavement all the time and just that open communication. She just always seems to be very transparent and let everybody know. Like, is it like that everywhere, Bob? Because obviously I don't see other tournaments, but is the communication with Tracy and Rondé and everybody, like, how does that factor into it?
Yeah, I don't think it hurts, certainly. I mean, she's visible and she keeps the tournament in front of people. And by getting out there and recruiting and just sort of being in their ear, what can I do for you? Right. I think they know that when they come here, they're going to have an easy place to stay. She works on taking care of the caddies, finding them a place to stay.
Yeah.
So much of it is the logistics, and I think they know if those things are easy, that makes it that much better. And so she's out there. She goes out to several tournaments a year to keep in touch with the players and the agents, and that's a smart thing to do. Some tournaments don't have to do that. The Arnold Palmer doesn't have to do that. They're coming. And if they're not coming, it's not because somebody didn't go out there and shake their hand. Whereas here, you got to hustle a little bit more. You got to keep it in the forefront. You got to keep reminding them. And but ultimately, though, I think she would even agree. If they had that Cognizant date, which this year followed Riviera and preceded the Arnold Palmer, it's kind of a no-win situation. I mean, there's not that much you can do. It's even for that tournament where a lot of guys live over there in the Jupiter West Palm area, guys live there and weren't playing it. I mean, it's just that's kind of a miss on the PGA Tour's part. They can't allow there to be that kind of situation. Now, look, the schedule is going to change going forward. We're not really sure how it's going to look, how these events are going to be. But when you have these limited field signature events with no cut or a limited cut and big purses, and you have so many of them, really, there was 4 and 5 weeks. The one in the middle is going to get squeezed. It's unfair to them. It's not their fault. They can't help it. So we're on the back end of it here, and they've made the most of it. And, you're going to see it with a pretty good field this week.
Yeah, I'll definitely be out there Friday and Sunday. So I'll be at the 8th green on Friday and then the 18th green on Sunday. And a name that's going to be there is Brooks Koepka, and I wasn't shying away from that conversation with Tracy when I had her on last week, because there's still a large contingent of golf fans out there, Bob, wondering like, how's this gonna go? Coming back from Live, and how do the players feel, right? Like, I mean, some of them seem like they're welcome back with open arms. I'm sure there's some guys out there that still probably aren't too keen on the entire situation. What do we know about Brooks and how he's being received, and also his chances this weekend?
Yeah, look, I think generally it's been fine. I mean, he's kind of assimilated back in now, played several times. But I guess he's played 4 events now, had a pretty good Cognizant, had a pretty good Players Championship. The ones who don't like it, I mean, I think they need to step back and recognize the situation. It helps the PGA Tour that a guy wanted to leave Live to come back. That's a good thing for the tour, despite all the riches on Live and all the reasons why a guy might want to go there. He decided he didn't want to do that anymore, and he wanted to come back. The other thing is they're adding spots in the field when he plays. So he's not taking a spot from anyone. Last week, the field at the Players was 120. When they added Brooks, they added 2 more guys so that they could round out the threesome. So 2 guys got in that would not have gotten in if he didn't play. It's the same thing here. I believe we have a 132-player field here. So you add Brooks, they add 2 more, it's 135. And so that means 2 guys on the alternate list who otherwise would not have been in the field, unless there had been some other injury of sorts. He's in. They're in. He's helping them. It's not hurting anybody. So, I mean, that was a smart move by the PGA Tour. Nobody can claim, hey, he's costing me a spot. And look, he's an exempt player because he won the 2023 PGA Championship that comes with 5 years. And they're using that. That's the reason why he's exempt to play. And good for him, and I think you're going to see him start to get in the mix a little bit more the farther we go along here.
Yeah, he's somebody, and Tracy asked me, she's like, who do you think it would be? Like, who do you think would be the best to win? I go, it's Brooks, because that would be huge, Bob. That would be a huge storyline. And I think Victor was a great step forward. Listen, I love the Malnati's of the world, the Sam Burns of the world, but you have a big name like that, that's only going to help the Valspar going forward. Who are some of the other big names we should be keeping an eye on, some of the favorites you think for this weekend?
Yeah, well, look, there's a guy named Austin Smotherman who's been playing really good golf, and his wife is due Sunday. So we'll see if he hangs around. He said last week at the Players, they have other kids. He said if he got into contention and she went into labor, he wouldn't leave. So good luck with that one, buddy. But in any case, I mean, apparently they talked it over. So now she's closer, and he's still here. So what are you going to do? Sometimes that kind of like having that kind of stuff going on in your life actually helps you clear out the noise and you play better. So and I kind of like Justin. Justin Thomas has knocked on the door around this place several times. Yeah. He really probably should have won last year. Mm-hmm. He had a little bit of a slip at the end, and then he let it get away from him, and Victor took advantage. I'm going to move, Jay. They're bringing somebody in here.
Yeah, no
so
problem.
I'm just going to move outside while we're talking.
You're good, pal.
But in any case, so there's several big names like that I think are gonna fit in here. That and they always get some other guys too that you've never heard of. That the course yields itself to that.
Yeah. It's a beautiful thing, man. What do we know about Tiger, man? We just it seems like the Tiger news always comes out right before you and I talk. Something new. It sounds like he's trying to play the Masters, but I think you said it. It was like more back surgeries. It's not going to be easy for the guy. Holy smokes. Oh, Bob. Hello. I bet you he got disconnected from the Wi-Fi. We'll get him back in a second.
Sorry about that, Jay.
No, you're good, pal. You're good.
I lost you for a second. I was just saying that we don't really know what happened there. He dropped at TGL last night about the Achilles surgery, which we knew of a year ago, and then he had another back surgery where he had the disc replacement. That was in October. But he mentioned having had 2 back surgeries. Well, what we don't know is, were they in the last year, or was he referring to another one that he had in September of 24? Last year, when he was trying to play again, he was coming back from another back surgery. It's possible that's what he meant.
Right.
And look, if that was before the disc replacement, it makes sense. But did he mean that there was something else after the disc replacement? Like he didn't, it's like, and then of course, he's dropped these hints that he's trying to get ready, but he hasn't once played TGL. Mm-hmm. Like he could have played last night if, that was the playoffs of TGL. He hasn't played it all year. Wait a minute. You can't hit 12 or 15 shots into a screen. Mm-hmm. Like but you're going to go play the Masters, which is 3 weeks from tomorrow.
Right.
So I don't know if he's just being really extra careful, or, if he's just trying to lead us along. I mean, Tiger has done that before where, he's just sort of kept the hope alive. Other times, though, he's underplayed it and actually been farther along than we thought. So it's going to be interesting to see how that works out. I would have loved to have seen him play a Champions Tour event before the Masters. There's one in Newport Beach next week, and that's 2 weeks before the Masters. It's 3 rounds. You're riding a golf cart. You at least can knock off some competitive rust against really good players, playing on TV under pressure, but not walking. It's like the perfect scenario for him, I think. To show up at Augusta, not having played a competitive round of golf in 18 months, I mean, it's Tiger, but come on, it's just a lot to ask.
Do you think he'll play a Champions Tour? Is he eventually?
Yes. Yeah, he's not shied away from that. I think he will. I think he will do that. I think he wants to play. And if he wants to play the majors, that's actually the way for him to get somewhat competitive.
Right.
The thing we've been talking about for the last few years is he can't play enough to get sharp.
Right.
If he plays too much, that's too physically taxing on his leg. But if he doesn't play at all, well, how do you show up the majors and compete? Mm-hmm. He did that, the last time he played in 2024, he played the 4 majors and the Genesis where he withdrew due to illness. He missed 3 cuts. You're going to compete against Scotty Scheffler and John Rahm in these big tournaments when you're 50 years old and you've not been playing them. I mean, it's amazing that he even stands up there and is able to, he made the cut at the Masters 2 years ago, 24th straight time he's done that, which is a record. But I mean, it's just a lot to ask. And I almost hope he doesn't play the Masters if he's not ready. And then, maybe you try to play the PGA Championship in May, play a Champions Tour event before it.
Yeah, smart. All right, Tiger versus Jack, Tiger and Phil, Drive the Lasting Legacy of Tiger Woods. All the books from Bob. You can get them on Amazon. What's next, Bob? What are you writing? What's the next book on?
I'm just still the Tiger v. Jack book is coming out here this spring, and
oh, can't wait.
That one isn't far enough in my rearview mirror to start thinking about another one. It's 3 books in 6 years, and it about killed me. So, but I'm excited about this one. Actually, I think it's a great topic.
Yeah,
it's 40 years since Jack won the Masters. That was the 18th major, the 73rd PGA Tour win. Mm-hmm. Those were the goals that Tiger chased. And obviously their careers. It's really a book celebrating both of their careers and hey, how did we get to the majors? Like, why did the majors matter? What are some other great players that are in the conversation, like Ben Hogan or Bobby Jones or Walter Hagen, and how those guys kind of blew past their numbers. So it's a back and forth as to the greatness of both. And I don't think there's a wrong answer, but I do try to come up with one at the end.
Well, the answer to the number one question is, who the heck are we talking to golf or talking about golf with? Nobody better than you, Bob, the one and only Bob Harig from Sports Illustrated. Bob, you're the man. We'll see you out in the course this weekend, buddy. Appreciate you.
Excellent, Jay. Thanks for having me. Be well.
You got it, buddy. You too. The great Bob Harig, man. He is the best, the man. Go read those books. Unbelievable. And again, Tiger and Phil, I read the book as I was watching the Masters. I went back and watched the Masters the one year. It was amazing. Absolutely amazing. He's just all over. He's been there, man. He's been around for so long. And to be able to watch these events firsthand, it's just absolutely incredible. Again, Valspar. Check us out. Hope the golf gods keep Brooks out of every cut line. I love Bob's information. Oh, cool points he made about Koepka. Yeah, I know you. I hear what you're saying, Hammer, but I always think about it. And I had this conversation with my brother, family members over the years. And, when it comes to decisions that you make about what's important to you, right? Your religion, your politics, your sports, like you make decisions or you feel a certain way about certain things based on how they affect you and your life and your loved ones, right? If you're a parent, right? The majority of the decisions that you make directly affect you and your kids. No doubt about it. When I think of golf, my immediate reaction is, how does that affect the Valspar? Because to me, that's the most important thing for our area. Tracy West, Rondé Barber, Rick Odioso, all the Copperheads, everybody over there in Innisbrook, how great they've been to me over the years. When I heard the whole Live Golf thing, yeah, I mean, did it sound kind of shady? The Saudi money and blah, blah, blah. Like, okay, I mean, regardless of how I feel about that, directly, how does that affect me? It doesn't. It's indirect. Directly, if it harms the Valspar, it harms me. It harms my content. It harms friends that I have. It harms our area. That's what I'm thinking about. So for me to think that I'm going to be so upset that Brooks Koepka left, oh, screw that guy, I hope he sucks. It's better for our area if the Valspar stays in the news and stays at the top of the line when it comes to the non-majors that big names attend. Justin Thomas, Jordan Spieth. I don't give a shit where they are. Top 20, top 30, top 50. Those are big names. They need to be there as often as humanly possible. Xander Schauffele, another big name. Great for him to be there. Victor Hovland. He'll always be remembered. Think about it, man. Sam Burns is a guy that, he's really, after winning, taking a step forward in his PGA Tour career. This Brooks Koepka conversation of him going to live, and we saw it too. And if you watched Full Swing on Netflix, you were able to watch that whole thing with Brooks and to be able to kind of follow with him his decision-making process. And you saw that it was just the guy is kind of battling it. He didn't know, and he thought that was the best decision for him. And now he's realized that, like, all right, well, now the PGA Tour is the best thing for me, whether you agree or disagree. But him going back to the PGA Tour and him drawing attention to the Valspar and him possibly winning it, and the storylines and the attention. Hey, in Palm Harbor, Tampa, Innisbrook, Copperhead, Valspar. That's what we want. You want to stay at the forefront. This is one of those things, unfortunately or fortunately, that any publicity is good publicity. Hammer, I don't have a problem with him going to live for his family's generational wealth from questionable people, but for the PGA to just let him back in with no repercussions is crazy. Yeah, but again, I'm not going to lose my mind over that. What am I going to do? That's not up to me. That's not my decision. I'm not going to lose. That's not the hill I'm dying on. Come on back. Fine. If you think he's paid his you think he paid his dues, or you think all the stuff that he has to go through, whatever. That's not where I'm going to put my energy. We need to focus in this world to focus on where we put our energy. There's too many people that put their energy into things they don't have any control over, and towards negativity and contributing to a problem or divisiveness. Focus on the good. Focus on what we can do to make this world better, make our sports world better. All right. We will be joined live, Buffalo, with our guy, Joey Johnston, the voices of USF athletics. Cannot wait to chat with him. There we go. All right. While we wait for Joey, let's tell you about my friends over at Honest Hammer Custom Builders, LLC, licensed, insured, bonded, general contractor. They are unbelievable. 813-244-0956, thehonesthammer.com. Thehonesthammer.com. Shoot me an email, thehonesthammer@gmail.com. And let's share the screen. We haven't done this in a while, but we got it here for you today. There we go. Bada bing, bada boom. Real sky in the room. How you doing? There you go. Look at that thing. This website just gets better and better and better. 813-244-0956. Honest Hammer Custom Builders, LLC. And you look here at the bottom. Honest Hammer General Contractor Company, CGC 153116. I got to make sure I get my map changed. It always works on there. I got to change mine. That's not on you. That's on me. I got to change it. Look at all these pictures. Incredible, man. And to see this house come together. Look, kitchen renovations, bathroom renovations, interior office renovations. You have a plot of land, you're looking for a new build, they can help you out. It's amazing. Over there a couple weeks ago in St. Pete, to watch them do their job, it's amazing to be able to see how everything comes together. And Hammer said this to me a while ago. It's like a big puzzle. You put everything together, and he has all these blueprints. And again, way over my head. I try to understand as much as I can, but it's beautiful, and the thought and the detail and the care that he puts in. It's mind blowing. And again, I can't say this enough. He's a Team Tampa Bay guy, USF grad. This isn't just your house. This is your home. You're going to be there for the next 10, 20, 30 years. You want somebody to actually care about their job and the job that they're doing for you. Nobody better. TheHonestHammer.com, TheHonestHammer@gmail.com. Mention the Jay Recher podcast, get you a discount as well. And then, of course, EverHealth, everhealth.org. We know our guy. Oh, bottom of the page, there's new photos of the final home. So go ahead, check that out. EverHealth, our EverHealth injury report every single Thursday with Dr. Rod, Dr. Carlos Rodriguez at 12:30. All these different things that they have going on. 17 different locations in Pinellas County. Everything from the cradle to the grave. Look, family medicine, pediatrics, dental. They are just amazing. Absolutely amazing. All the different services, the news and events. They have the EverHealth Institute right here, where it's very similar to the broadcasting school that I went to. you're looking for a career, you want to work in the medical field, the Institute is right across the street, not even the street, right across the parking lot of the High Point location where Dr. Carlos Rodriguez works. It's right there. So imagine going to a place like that, learning hands-on training, and then you can literally walk across the parking lot and there's your job. Everybody's so nice. And there's 17 locations again in Pinellas County, a sliding scale for the uninsured. They take all kinds of insurance. I can't say enough nice things about EverHealth and Honest Hammer, and so proud about that. So proud that they're partners with me here on the Jay Recher podcast. I care way more about my projects and clients than I do about Brooks Koepka. I like that, buddy. I like that. If you're watching, make sure you like and subscribe on YouTube as well. On all social media platforms, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, TikTok. I am everywhere. Make sure you come check me out. And also, I want you guys to take part. Kill that like button while you're watching. Kill that like button. I want you guys involved with the bracket challenge. Here is the bracket challenge. We have, as of now, 40 people signed up. 40. We're looking for at least 10 more. At least 10 more to get in on the bracket challenge. And if you win, you get to join the show and brag about it. So far, we've got Mrs. DT, NDT, Colin Sherwin from Bay Area Examiner, Marissa, my guy Josh, Steve and Mallory Garner, my Carolina correspondents. Benny's in there. Robert Cochran, our OKC guy, my guy Dan Greco, my sister, my buddy, both of my buddies, Rob, that I grew up with, Phil Evans, Scott Sadis, Justin Deegan, Aaron Jacobson from WDAE, Steve Vitrano, Woody Holblitzel, Jonah Feist, Jeff Attanello, who we're going to try to get on the show tomorrow, T. Rich, Evan Klosky, Jarrett Guthrie from 813preps.com, Kyle Berger from Channel 28, my guy Pat Russo, Emily, AJ, my dad, and my guy Al Drumheller. Oh, we got a second page? Look at that. Janet Best, the first lady of the Jay Recher podcast, Sam Cohen, Corey Rossman, Peter Burke, Sean Go, Chan Leonard, Kyler, Matt Jelson, and my guy John Eagle. We got 2 pages, baby. We got 40. We need 10 more. Let your people know it's free. It's free, man. We're going to have a lot of fun. Get your brackets done. And John Momola, you feeling humble brag when you win we'll go 10 minutes. 10 minutes. That's where you're getting. Completely off topic. Would you co-sign the Bucks leaving the draft, pulling another double dip at either LB or Edge like they did at corner next year? Yes. And look at this from Alfonso's. I can give a free large cheese pizza to the winner of the bracket. There you go. Alfonso's free large cheese pizza to the winner of the bracket. You heard it right here on the Jay Recher podcast. Go check out my guys at Alfonso Pizzeria. Love Marco and Brittany. They are the best. Tony, I want to answer this real quick before we get to Joey Johnston up there in Buffalo. Yes. Yes, and yes. Yes, and yes. Throw as many numbers at the linebacking and edge rush position as humanly possible. Defensively is where you got to make up the gap. Offensively, I think they'll be okay. But defensively, please throw as many resources as you can to help this team out. And it's ironic. We had the discussion with John Ledger last year. And he said last year they needed to go all defense. And what did they do in the first round? They went Emeka Egbuka. And some people look at Emeka Egbuka like, oh, well, look what we did in the beginning of the season. Great. But if you look at some of the numbers down the stretch, not great. Some of the least amount of separation in all of football last year when it came to wide receivers. Not great for Emeka Egbuka. You're telling me that they wouldn't have done better with a guy like Carson Schlesinger there? Or maybe one of the pass rushers there? I don't know. Doesn't mean he's not going to be a good player, but you got to fit need in there at some point. People are like, oh, just take the best player available. I think it's one of the biggest crocs ever. Let's take the best player available. Yeah, okay. If that's the case, if you have a all-pro quarterback, why don't you take another quarterback? Oh, because there's only one spot. You don't take the best player available. If you have a great running, so the Chiefs, if Jeremiah Love is there, are the Chiefs going to draft Jeremiah Love even though they just signed Kenneth Walker Jr.? Is that the case? Come on. Let's be realistic, folks. Let's be realistic. Use your brains. Use your brains. All right. We are going to go up to Buffalo, and we are going to bring in a guy, and look at how I described you. USF Joey Johnston knows a lot about a lot. What's going on, my brother? How are you?
How you doing, Jay? I'm here live courtside at Buffalo, New York. USF has been on and off the practice court. North Dakota State is currently on the court right now, getting ready for their game against Michigan State. So a lot of NCAA tournament excitement going on here. USF was the first to go this morning with practice and with news conferences, so they have come and gone. But tomorrow this place will be full, and we'll be getting ready for USF in Louisville. And we've already got some pretty big news regarding this game.
All right, let us know, Joey. Kick it off.
Well, the Louisville coach, Pat Kelsey, tells us that Michael Brown Jr., the freshman point guard, the brilliant freshman point guard, will not play. Will miss his fifth straight game with a back injury. That's a big deal for this game because Michael Brown has been one of the best players in the ACC. He earlier this season scored 45 points to tie the Louisville single-season record held by Wes Unseld in 1967. So that's a big factor in the end. Now, Louisville does have some depth and some other players, obviously, but going without Michael Brown is a big thing for the Cardinals and potentially a big thing for USF's ability to win this game.
Well, my question is Brown rebound and have as well of an outlet pass as Wes Unseld? That's the real question.
and not a similar body either. Wes Unseld was a great NBA player back in the day that I remember pretty well. Played for the Washington Bullets at the time. Yep. But yeah, Michael Brown. But Louisville's been doing without Michael Brown through the last 4 games, and he also missed about 7 games at midseason. So they played without him before. But quite a blow here in a up and down game against the USF team that's going to come out guns a-blazing to not have your point guard. That's a pretty big factor.
Joey, what's the vibe right now around the team? Obviously, winning the conference tournament was huge, and we know how emotional it is for Coach Brian Hodgson and going back to Buffalo, which isn't too far from Jamestown. What's kind of the vibe around the team right now?
The vibe is one of confidence. We got in yesterday to Buffalo, practice at Buffalo State. Pretty spirited workout, and the guys believe they're going to go out and win the game. I mean, Wes Enos said as much a couple of days ago in a news conference. I don't think it was arrogance or cockiness in any way. He just flat out said, we believe we're the better team. We believe we're going to win the game, and the 6-11 thing is not a factor. We think we're a better team, and I think Wes Enos might have a point because these are teams that are actually very similar. They're going to go up and down, score a lot of points, shoot a lot of threes, a lot of long rebounds. I think it's going to be a fun game to watch in person or on television. Probably both teams will be in the 80s, maybe even the 90s. So it's going to be a real fan pleasure. But I think USF may have just a touch more juice. The ironic thing is for Louisville, there's actually a couple of guys who have USF roots. One who we know very well, Cason Pryor, who is taking on more of a reserve role with the Cardinals, but he was a spectacular performer for Coach Amir 2 seasons ago on the team that won 25 games. And the other one is Louisville's leading scorer, Ryan Conwell, who may not be as familiar to some fans, may slip their minds, but Ryan Conwell played for USF as a freshman in the 22-23 season, and he is on his 4th school in 4 years, which we see from time to time. That would be USF, Indiana State, Xavier, now Louisville. He's got almost 2,000 career points. I mean, he's been a dynamic scorer for the Louisville this year, an all-ACC guy, 18.7. So USF's ability to hold Ryan Conwell in check, the former Bull, is going to be a big factor as well.
Yeah, you mentioned Wes Enos, and as good as of a shooter he has been. I mean, talk about his defense, Joey. I feel like his defense just keeps getting better and better and better. This is a guy that I'm just so impressed with the kind of young man that he's become and the leader and the player. Like, he really is the two-way player, isn't he?
Yeah, I think he definitely is. And I think, Isaiah Nelson obviously was the player of the year in the conference. And I think we kind of realized that midseason on. But, man, I think Wes Enos could and maybe should have received a little bit of consideration for that award because of his offense and defense, his scoring ability, and what he did in the conference tournament. Speaks for itself, holding Dezane Mingo of Charlotte to just 5 points after a 35-point game, and then shutting down Kenyon Giles, a 20-point scorer, and he was limited. I think it was 5 points as well. So those are 2 incredible defensive efforts. I would guess that Wes Enos might draw the assignment on Ryan Conwell, so there's a matchup to watch in tomorrow's game. What kind of defense Enos can provide against Conwell, who has made 105 3-pointers this year. So, man, it's going to be a lot of fireworks and a lot of juice in this game, up and down, up and down. And I do think USF has a great chance to win the game and go on and play in the second round, which figures to be Michigan State if the seeds hold. Michigan State plays North Dakota State. So, I mean, it's not beyond the stretch of imagination if USF plays well and gets hot that they could win twice and get in the Sweet 16. And when that happens, the roof blows off. It explodes. The attention you get as a program, I mean, it's already considerable in the NCAA tournament. You get into that second week, it's just everybody comes out of the woodwork. You're a national, international story. So it could be one of the biggest things that ever happened to USF athletics. But first things first, got to take care of Louisville.
I'm hearing that you may have stole a credential earlier today. Our guy Colin Sherman is saying, is there any truth to that?
Well, when I walked in, I was ahead of Jim Lighthall, and they gave me his credential, and I put it around my neck, and I sort of forgot about it and went on to do my business. And then Jim messaged me saying, "Hey, you got my credential?" I'm like, "Oh, sorry, pal." Yeah. So, yeah, and it's actually not a great day to be waiting outside. It's very cold here in Buffalo. A lot of snow. I mean, it's bitterly cold. It was in the teens this morning. So we are very grateful that basketball is an indoor sport because it is freezing outside, Jay, freezing.
Yeah, I hear you, buddy. I asked Jim this question the other day, and I want to ask you, is Isaiah Nelson the best one-year player in USF history? Somebody said JPP, but he wasn't a conference player of the year. I look at Isaiah Nelson, and I wonder.
I would say, I think we have a good argument there between Isaiah Nelson and Chris Youngblood from 2 years ago, who was the offensive player of the year in the league, who was the leader of the 25-win team, just like Nelson's the leader of this 25-win team. They have different approaches. Youngblood was a great three-point shooter and a guard who handled the ball, and Zay Nelson, of course, is the interior guy. But I think both of those guys have an argument for the great 1 year, and that's like a new category in college sports now, the 1 year player. But no question about it. The other thing I looked this up the other day, Zay Nelson is only the third USF player to have a 500-point, 300 rebound season. Those are hard to come by. He just got above those numbers, and he's still going. So his rebounding has leveled off just a bit. The last few games, he's down to 9.6. But if he could somehow have some monster games and get it above the 10-0, there's only been 6 guys to do that in program history to average 10 rebounds. Another thing that's very difficult to do. So, but any measure you have, Isaiah Nelson is going to go down as one of the great USF Bulls, even though it is just one season, purely because of the numbers he's put up, and also what he's done with this team to get it 25 wins. If they beat Louisville, that's 26. That's a program record, so let's not forget that. And also, if they beat Louisville, that's a 12-game winning streak. That's second in program history. This team has so many records, notes, interesting tidbits. You can't keep up with them. I mean, they run on for pages and pages and pages. I mean, it truly is remarkable. As you know, some teams that you cover, you're dying for any shred of information that might have some interest for the fans. This team has so many, you can't cover them all. There's too many of them. So, but again, really, what a fun team to be around. What a fun team to watch. And we're certainly looking forward to seeing what should be a great game against Louisville on Thursday.
We speak a lot about Isaiah Nelson and Pinion and Enos, but talk to me more about CJ Brown and Omajafo and some of these other guys that, maybe sliding under the radar. I put a video out the other day saying about how great this team is, and I don't put Josh in there. Everybody's like, what about Josh? I'm like, bro, it's only a 3-minute video. Like, I got a lot of love for this dude. He makes an incredible effort every single game. He flies under the radar a little bit, but, Hightower and all these, there's just so many different guys that contribute. It's pretty amazing, isn't it, Joey?
Yeah, for sure. I'll start with CJ Brown. I'll cover a few guys here, but CJ Brown obviously was on the team last year, recruited by Amir Abdul-Rahim out of the greater Atlanta area, and then never got to play for Coach Amir, obviously, but played last year and was a great freshman. Really, last year, what we remember the most is his incredible dunks. He's a high flyer. He posterized several opponents during the season, and by all measures, you think a guy like that might move on with a coaching change. But on the day that Brian Hodson was introduced, C.J. Brown announced that he was staying. So that makes him kind of an unusual guy. And he's been the point guard all year. He's been the ball handler. He has a really good assist to turnover ratio. He has great offensive highlights, although he's not called on to do that to a high level, but he can if he needs to. So C.J. Brown definitely is a star on the team. Josh Omajafo, he played last season in the NCAA tournament for Robert Morris in a game against Alabama and had a 12-point game, and Robert Morris almost beat Alabama. So here's a guy that's got veteran experience. He played at Division II before that, played on a team that got to the Elite Eight. Now he winds up at USF. In the second game of the year, he scores 33 points. So we're thinking, oh my gosh, who is this guy, Josh Omajafo? Now he hasn't approached that. And in fact, his offense kind of hit the skids for a long time, but he's really kicked it into gear here in the late season with his rebounding and his scoring. And he is more than just a fifth option. I mean, he's a guy that they can count on to do a lot of the little things. And he's really a matchup nightmare because he's constant motion. He produces all over the score sheet. So he's a very valuable player. And I'll mention too, along with those two guys, couple of guys off the bench that have been coming up huge. Gavin Hightower, the freshman point guard from Los Angeles, who was supposed to go to Iona with Tobin Anderson when Tobin Anderson got let go and came to USF as the special assistant to Brian Hodgson. Gavin Hightower opted to come to USF, and he's certainly had his ups and downs, but man, more ups than downs of late. He's been a very valuable performer and played a lot of minutes at point guard. He's been a great player, as has Isaiah Jones, another guy who played in the NCAA tournament with Oakland when they beat Kentucky 2 years ago. Isaiah Jones has been just this quiet presence. He comes off the bench. He gives this veteran stability. He produces three-pointers, points, rebounds, great defense. Just a guy that you can count on at all times to do what's necessary. So, yeah, the big three that you mentioned earlier, they're going to get most of the attention. They were the guys on the podium at the interviews earlier, but those other guys have been just as valuable for this USF team. They've got great depth and great pride throughout the lineup. So it's more than just the big three.
Yeah, Isaiah Jones is a guy, man, when he steps into those threes, he's just a really, really unsung hero on this team. It comes up with a lot of 50-50 balls. The defense is the thing, Joey, right? That not a lot. I mean, you talk so much about this offense, but I get excited watching this team play defense. There's that never say die attitude on that side of the ball. And I think that's what could give them the edge against Louisville.
Yeah, you look at the defensive numbers in the last 7-8 games, particularly, they are crazy. They've held most teams to under 40% shooting, some in the low 30s, some in the high 20s. The points, obviously, they gave up just 55 to Wichita State in the American Conference title game. So that was pretty huge. The points per game, the points per possession for the analytics crowd are very, very impressive. USF is now, I think, in the top 45 defensively in the points allowed per possession category by KenPom, which are for the basketball nerds out there that understand that stuff. But just know that USF is playing great defense. They're not just a team that's going to score. They can score, but obviously the defense really, it probably has been the big factor why they're sitting here in the NCAA tournament, no question.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And, obviously we hear the big story last night saying that Brian Hodgson has turned down the Syracuse job. And, this is what happens when you have a good coach, right? And especially at a place like USF where, it's a athletic program kind of in transition. It's on the ascent. We know Rob Higgins and what his mind and his thought process is like, hey, we need to be amongst the elite. We're doing this. And obviously Providence is kind of lurking out there. How does Coach Brian Hodgson, how is the team kind of dealing with all of that outside noise, knowing that, he kind of is the belle of the ball right now when it comes to, right, where could this guy end up next year? Because I know there's a lot of fans in the Tampa Bay area hoping that he stays here after this season. And I know it's hard to compartmentalize that, man. Obviously, as we want to support them, but there's a lot of outside noise right now. How are they handling that?
Yeah, I think USF's handling it pretty well. I don't think they actually consider it noise. The players answered the question this morning, and they said there's no distractions. We're focused on winning games, and you're going to hear if your coach is good, you're obviously going to hear about him being linked to jobs, and that's to be expected. Brian Hodgson pretty much said the same thing when he was asked about it at his news conference. He says there's nothing on his mind other than grinding and getting this USF team to win some games. But when the run ends, obviously he'll have some choices. He did apparently turn down the Syracuse job, but best of my knowledge, he hasn't turned down the Providence job. So we have to wait and see what's up. USF is going to do everything it can to keep him, and it's made, from my understanding, a good offer along those lines. And it's kind of a fluid situation. For example, if Brian Hudson gets to the Sweet 16, well, I mean, the price might go up. You know,
And there might be more people. There might be more people.
This story hasn't been completed yet. So we're just going to stay tuned and see. I do know that Hodson loves living in Tampa. His wife really loves living in Tampa, as do every wife of every assistant coach on the USF staff. If you poll them, they will sign to stay in Tampa right now. So, but we're just going to have to wait and see how it plays out. Now, Michigan State is just coming on the court, Jay. I don't know if you can hear the Spartan fight song in the background, but the Sparties are in the building.
How cool is that, man? I want to ask you again, when we get into a situation like this, Joey, we know Alex Golish went to Auburn and you were so close to the football program as well. I mean, isn't it nice, though, we're at a spot where it's a tough decision, right? Like, you know what I mean? We're at a position now where it's different than Willie Taggart's decision years ago, where it's like, USF is on the come up. We kind of see kind of the light at the end of the tunnel now. We know conference realignment's right around the corner. It's a different feel right now with the entirety of USF athletics, isn't it?
Yeah, I think a lot of it has to be based on your belief in what USF's future is going to be, and you certainly are seeing an athletic program that's going to do everything it can to get into a major conference. It is doing everything it can to adjust to the modern landscape of revenue share and NIL and putting money into the program. So it's a great place to be. It certainly, arguably, is the best so-called group of five school out there right now, and it is better than a lot of so-called Power Four programs. So if you love living in Tampa, if you love the potential, and you love where USF has not only gone but can go, great place to be. So you could argue maybe USF is a better job than Providence in basketball. You can certainly make that argument. So, and that's not something maybe you could do a few years ago.
How is Tom Izzo out there?
Let's see. Where is Coach? He's got to be out here somewhere. Maybe he's signing an autograph. I don't see him right at the moment. He's moments away from getting on the crowd on the court. Yes, I do see him. He is on the court.
Is he coming over to ask you for an autograph? That's the real question.
Yeah.
Is he want to talk to Joey Johnston? That's the point.
Hopefully, we go back a little ways. Michigan State's played in the NCAA in Tampa, the Final Four in St. Pete. So we've had some nice relationships in the past, and I really, obviously, think the world of him as a great coach. He's one of the legends. So, seeing Tom Izzo in the NCAA tournament, that's an annual occurrence for about 2 decades now.
No doubt about it. The one and only Joey Johnston, he knows a lot about a lot. You are the man, my friend. Thank you so much. We'll be cheering him on from the Tampa Bay area tomorrow. Cannot wait, my friend. Appreciate your time. Enjoy the game, and hopefully we're talking about Sweet 16 next week, my friend. Thank you.
That will be great. Thanks a lot, Jay. Good luck to you, and have a good day.
You too, pal. The great Joey Johnston. He's the man. God, I love that guy. And listen, we have to ask the tough questions here on the program, and he gets it. When you're a good coach, you're going to hear your name. You're going to hear your name, and it's going to be bandied about when it comes to these job openings. But right now, obviously some big news with Brian Hodson turning down that Syracuse job, and that's a lot. It really is. It's a lot. I mean, you're talking about a guy that's from up in that area, from the Jamestown, went to Jamestown, obviously in the Buffalo area, not too far from Syracuse. You don't fault guys for going home, right? It's kind of like the Michael Kelly thing, like going back to the Navy. Like, you can't fault a guy for going home. But the fact is that from what everybody's saying, he's turning it down. He's turning it down. So hasn't turned the Providence job down yet, as you heard Joey Johnston say, but there's a lot that goes into it, right? When you look at Providence, you're talking about a school that doesn't have a football program. It's all you. Every resource is going to go to basketball. And I know other people will say, well, you're living in Rhode Island instead of Tampa, Florida. Yeah, I get that's part of it. But there's also something to be said about the security, something about playing in the Big East, right? He's a Northeast guy, but to be fair, he coached at Buffalo, but he also coached at Alabama and Arkansas State. it always comes down to what's important to the coach, what's important to the father, to the husband. Um, for Coach Alex Golish, this was just a stepping stone to get back into the SEC. That was him. That was him. Whether it was right or wrong, that's what he wanted to do. He's at Auburn. Do what you got to do, buddy. What's important to Brian Hodgson and him and his family? We'll find out. We'll find out. And that's the point where you get into a situation where in life, it's about demand and supply and demand. It's about leverage. I mean, it sounds like the conversation that we had with Mike Evans, right? What's important to Mike? We thought it was all right, staying home and making sure that you don't have to move your entire family and going to California and all that money that comes out of your taxes. Apparently, that is not the most important thing to him. The most important thing to him was a new challenge and a chance to win another ring. Can you fault somebody? Whatever. It's your life. Do whatever the hell you want. All right, let's see. How many people have we signed up for the bracket challenge? We got 41. So we're looking for at least 9 more. At least 9 more sign up. Look at Rolly's in there too, baby. I see you, Rolly. I see you in there. All right, 9 more. 9 to go. Beautiful thing. Go Bulls is right. Go Bulls. Our guy Hammer. Let's see if there's any other news here. Yeah, Michael Brown out. New WNBA CBA includes $7 million salary cap, so a verbal agreement. So that is, good for the WNBA. Let's see what else. Dolphin star Devon Achane off limits in trade for some reason. Miami, you're trading Jalen Waddle yesterday. You signed Malik Willis, and you're going to keep Achane? I don't know. It's just weird. I think that's one of the worst things when it comes to football more than anything else. And Ian said this yesterday. And you know what? I want to play it for you guys right now because I just posted this and I wanted to reiterate. This is from Monday's show. And this is, I think, one of the scariest places to be when you're a sports team. And football probably more than anything, but like this is one of the worst spots to be in. When you talk about, are you good? Are you bad? Are you in the middle of a rebuild? Do you need a reset? And that's kind of where we landed when we were having this discussion with Ian earlier this week. Do the Buccaneers need a reset? And here is what Ian had to say. This is the conversation that we had.
The sad part is the Buccaneers haven't won a Super Bowl that long ago, and usually you have to reset, and we haven't reset yet. Maybe we're resetting now, but we haven't reset yet because they made the playoffs every year. So maybe this is the year they reset, and I just don't know if this is the organization that they're going into this year thinking that this is the year. It sure doesn't look that way. It doesn't seem like they're acting like they're 1 or 2 players away from getting anything done. I could be wrong, but I think actions speak louder than words.
Is that a scary thing, though, when you're talking about roster construction? Because I think the death knell is finishing 8-9, 9-8, 7-10, and not making the playoffs and picking 15th in the draft. Like sometimes, do you agree that you do need that reset? You do need to kind of take 5 steps back before you take 10 forward? Because, as much as we talk about Tom Brady, like it was only 5 years before that they were drafted number 1 overall. You're right. I'm thinking the more and more you talk about that, the Buccaneers are not necessarily making moves that make you believe that they are a piece or 2 away, or they themselves believe that they're going to be contenders this year.
No, and I've said this before, Jay, and as much as you have to give Jason credit for going to get Tom Brady, he was lucky, right? Mm-hmm. So if Tom Brady didn't come here, I mean,
yeah,
a lot of guys wouldn't have been here. Now Gronk wouldn't have been here. A lot of guys wouldn't have come, and we would have been different. I don't know who our quarterback would have been if we brought Baker in the year before Tom Brady. It might not have been the same. So there's a little luck in it. So Tom Brady helped us reset positively. So then we, without that Tom Brady little snippet, it ain't pretty, right? So you look at the Buccaneers eras. If you pull out, Tom Brady and Tony Dungy, there ain't a whole lot of goodness in there. So resetting is not something the Buccaneers have done a great job of in the past. Let's hope they get it done this year. And I don't know if they're resetting or what, but I have a funny feeling it's not going to be all that pretty this year.
Do you agree with Ian that it's not going to look all that pretty this year? Because I think there's a possibility that that's true. I worry about teams that are kind of like half in, half out. One of the worst things in life is not knowing where you stand, right? At work, in your relationships, with your team. Where are you at? You can't really question that when it comes to the Tampa Bay Lightning. They're in, they're all in, they're trying to get better. They're trying to win the Stanley Cup. The Rays, that's where the apathy comes from. That's where the indifference comes from when it comes to the Tampa Bay Rays. There's a lot of that. Are they really utilizing every resource they have to get better, to try to win? I don't know if you can say that 100% across the board. Now, the Bucks are obviously a little different because I think they do try to put their best foot forward, but sometimes you don't have enough good players and you don't have enough good coaches. And that's where they may be right now. I think the Buccaneers are looking at this entire process going, all right, we have to give this every last chance to work with Todd Bowles. And then if it doesn't, we got to flip and go the other way. We got to completely pivot and we have new leadership. Because no matter what happens, whether he comes back next year or not, this will be the final year for Lavonte David. If it's taken this long for him to make a decision, we got one more year. So just think about it like this. When we go into the 2027 season, there's a very realistic possibility that there's no Todd Bowles, there's no Lavonte David, there's definitely no Mike Evans. Who else could you move on from when it comes to that leadership core? This could be a completely different team in 2027. Now, and you see how quick it flips when you get new coaches. I mean, I look at the New York Giants, and you look at how many different players that they have already. Bobby Okereke out, Edmonds in. You look at bringing in a new punter, a kicker, a fullback, and Patrick Ricard, Darnell Mooney. Like they're bringing in all of these different guys. That's what's going to happen when a guy comes here. Because what's going to happen is you're going to have somebody come in. You always think that you're the final piece of the puzzle. You always think that you're the guy that can take what is good and make it great. That's what Tom Brady did. But it wasn't just Tom, right? It was Tom, and then it was Gronk, and it was Lenny, and it was AB, right? And Dominican Sue. Like there was so many different guys that came in after Tom Brady. A new coach, if he comes in after Todd Bowles, is going to look at it and say, all right, well, we got Gedeke and Worse and Barton. We got Antoine Winfield Jr., Tyke Smith, maybe Benjamin Morrison, Jacob Parrish, guys like that. He's going to look at those 8 to 12 players and go, these are my leaders. This is my core. Now I got to put my own spin on it. Now I got to find the right formula. Who are the guys that Todd Bowles can look at right now and say, that's my core? Baker, Bucky, Chris Godwin. There's a lot of question marks going into the year. Can Bucky stay healthy? Can Baker stay healthy? What does Chris Godwin do as clear-cut wide receiver number 1? What happens in year 3 for Jalen, year 2 for Emeka Ibuka? What kind of rookies are going to contribute? Does Graham Barton take a step forward? He definitely does need to take a step forward. Can he start the season as a center instead of a left tackle? These guys you brought in, Al-Quadin Muhammad and Alex Anzalone and Ashawn Robinson, what kind of impact did they have on the team? What happens to Lavonte? No Jamel Dean. Can Benjamin Morrison stay healthy and take a step forward? Tyke Smith and Antoine Winfield Jr. I think they have the potential to be one of the best safety tandems in the league, but you got to show it. What I said earlier this week, rent is due every day. And the farther and farther you get away from the Super Bowl championship of 2020, you can't use that as a measuring stick anymore. Those guys are gone. There's not enough guys that knows what that winning meal tastes like. Zach says 7-10 coming. I don't know if you're too far off, buddy. I would happily be wrong, but I just don't know. the Bucks are going to have to nail this draft. They're going to have to nail this draft. And they're going to need guys that are going to contribute right away, kind of like what we saw for Seattle's draft class a couple years ago. Remember that draft class for the New Orleans Saints when they had Kamara and Marshawn Lattimore? That's the kind of draft that the Buccaneers are going to need if they're going to be successful and competitive in 2026. All right, he woke up. He went to bed at probably 6 a.m, but he's here joining us. He's the Icelandic warrior, the coffee drinking man, Mr. Spoon Man, the one and only Erik Erlendsson. What's going on, buddy? How are you?
I'm good. Hey, you're not like locked in a closet somewhere, are you? I'm worried about you a little bit.
No, I'm in North Carolina. So this is what I've been doing my show the last couple of days. So I'll be doing the show here tomorrow. All right. But yeah, it's been nice. It's been good. And yeah, especially watching the Lightning game last night, it was pretty good. My thought process was that it was a step in the right direction, but tough to really tell if they've figured out their defensive woes because Seattle's not necessarily an offensive juggernaut. What were some of your big takeaways aside from that number 86 guy from that game last night?
2 points, baby. 2 points.
That's it. Yeah.
I mean, look, they dominated the first and the third period, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, right. So you talk about small steps and taking steps in the right direction, which is, something I wrote about leading up to last night's game. Mm-hmm. Is that during the last couple of games before they left town, you could see some signs. They weren't abundant. They weren't consistent, but that's what you look for when a team is kind of going through a funk is, are you starting to see maybe a couple of things that make them look familiar? And I felt specifically the first period against Detroit, the second period against Carolina, you saw it. You kind of, okay, I can spot that. That looks like a team that we're used to kind of seeing. Maybe they're going to start to emerge from it. So now you got last night. Well, they got 2 periods where they were really good. I mean, they controlled the puck for the first and the third almost exclusively. Second, you had some hiccups. It felt like when they went up 3-0 in the opening minute of the second period that, okay, this is going to be an easy night. And, you let a team back in 10 seconds after you score, they're going to get some life off of it. And, so you still see some of the fragility of the team a little bit, not handling that very well, but they came through it. They maintained the lead going into the third period, and then they had a pretty good shutdown third, especially once Anthony Cirelli got them the insurance goal, about 5 minutes into the third, then you could kind of see. So, I mean, you're right, though. Seattle has problems scoring goals, even though they had scored 11 in the previous 2 games, and Bobby McMahon has kind of come in and given them a boost offensively pretty quick with 4 goals in 3 games now after scoring last night. But, signs of moving back in that next direction. And it was so important, I think, to make sure you got the 2 points out of that game last night because Buffalo won again. Boston and Montreal went to overtime. Both those teams got points, right? You're starting to see the teams from behind kind of put some pressure on them. And, you got the 2 points there. And to start this trip off where you feel at least 2 out of the next 3 games you can't lose, right? You can't lose tomorrow night in Vancouver. You can't really lose on Sunday in Calgary, and then Edmonton will be up in the air. But, this is a trip where you feel like you should come home with 6 points at least.
Yeah, I said the same thing earlier. I think actually Edmonton is the game that I'm keeping an eye on because that's where they'll be challenged defensively probably the most. And then 4th game of road trip back-to-back against Calgary, that game could be a nutso type game. We never know, right? Because we know JoJo's going to play in one of those games too. A lot of people were wondering about Victor Hedman, and I've been saying the last week or so, like you got to give him some time to come back. But I wanted to ask you specifically about the pairing with Erik Cernak, because I literally talked to Cernak about this like 2 or 3 months ago with JJ Moser. And the one thing with Hedman is he's kind of like, he's freewheeling, you know what I mean? He's freelancing. He'll go all over the place, and he needs a guy that knows, all right, I got to go play the left side right now. I got to go play the right side right now. And JJ Moser's kind of a weirdo, and he loves that kind of stuff. But Cernak in the past just hasn't worked double E, and we saw them go to that 2 games ago and then again last night. Why has that not worked over the years? And then what have you seen with that pairing the last couple of games?
I'm not a fan of it.
Yeah, me neither.
Right? I'm not like, even in the past when they've been together, they haven't looked good. Some guys just have chemistry and some guys don't.
Mm-hmm.
And a guy like Chernak, especially, you consider most of his career, he's played with Ryan McDonough, obviously a couple year separation when Mac was in Nashville, but playing with Victor Hedman is different. It's just different. You have to think differently. You have to react differently. Like, you really have to read off of Victor and what he's going to do, and not cover for him, but understand what he's capable of doing when he's, for lack of a better term, roaming, right? Like, he can roam because of the ground that he has the ability to kind of make up. But I've never been a fan of it. Chernak is just this true typical stay-at-home type of defenseman, he knows his first priority is making sure he takes care of things in his own end. And you almost feel like he needs someone with a similar mindset to kind of play with him, right? So, I'm not a fan of it. I mean, we've certainly talked enough about the struggles of Victor Hedman, specifically coming back from the Olympic break, right? And where he's at with his game. I mean, it's pretty obvious he's not at the level we're used to seeing him play at. And so, it does make you wonder what's going on with him. But, like, we saw them put Hedman back with Moser, right? And that just kind of messed up all the other pairings, right? So it's a little bit of a head scratcher on, we've talked about, well, all these years you've tried to find somebody that can play with Victor Hedman, and now you're wondering, well, who can play with Victor Hedman?
Yeah, it's a good point. I thought they had a couple of good shifts last night together. I mean, obviously on one of the goals, Hedman 2-on-1 in the corner, and then Chernak just did not know whether to leave in front of the net or not. And it just that miscommunication really hurt them. I thought it was a little better in the third period, but again, I'm not really judging them on this road trip until what I see Saturday night, even though Draisaitl's out for the regular season, because that's going to really test whether they're good defensively, because I feel like their best defense was their offense last night. They weren't hemmed up in their own zone all that much outside of the second period. What do you want to see over these 4 games, Erik? What's the most important thing that you need to see from the Lightning on this road trip?
Communication and execution. That's kind of the 2 biggest things. And I don't mean they're not talking to each other. I mean, understanding each other, right? That's part of the communication. Sometimes the unspoken communication between players. That's what I want to see. I want to see, can you get out of your own end cleanly? Can you get your transition game going? Because one of the biggest things during that 3-7 stretch was got hemmed in, making bad reads, making bad passes, pucks exploding off of sticks, like all the stuff that can get you into trouble, got them into trouble. And that's what I want to see. Can you clean all of that up? And, I'll go through my yearly speech here. How you play in March does not dictate how you're going to play in April, especially when you get to the playoffs and it's a one-on-one matchup against another team and things are broken down differently. But you do want to see that, because I think the execution part of it, hockey is a weird game because it has to be instinctually repetitive, right? You have to have that repetitiveness in a game that has so much randomness, right? Like, it's kind of an oxymoron in a lot of ways. So, like, how many times through the years did we hear Pat Maroon say we need to be predictable, right? And that predictability is not, well, we're going to show the other team how we're going to play. No, the predictability is how they are going to play within their own group, right? And that's what I think you need to see. So that's why I'm saying here down the stretch, I want to see that execution start to be, because you start to execute and feel good, just like they were during that stretch from December until, the first week of February. They were just in sync. And that's where the execution comes into play. Get them in sync so that when we do get to April, you can connect those passes, you can connect the breakout plays and everything else, and understand where everybody is going to be at the certain time on the ice. So you have that unwritten communication to execute your plays. And that's what I want to see out of this road trip and really over the final 16 games of the season.
All right, let's get into it. Number 86, the game last night, it was just it's so crazy, Erik, that you could watch a guy play for the better part of 10 years and still be surprised and still be impressed by the things that he does. I mean, last night he was so far and away the best player on the ice. Like, it wasn't even close. And the two best passes that he had didn't even lead to goals. I mean, that the backhanded pass that he had to deflect the puck back to the point, that little redirect in the Seattle zone, I don't know how many people on the planet are doing that. I mean, what can we say about Nikita Kucherov that we haven't already said? Again, it's like a broken record talking about this guy. It's hard to think that he's not the favorite for MVP right now.
Can I do my Cooch impersonation?
That's all you're going to hear from Cooch.
Nobody can impersonate Nikita Kucherov on the ice, though.
No.
Nobody. He's I mean, we kind of run out of adjectives and superlatives and other ways to describe his game because there is nobody in the game like him. And just like there's nobody in the game like McDavid, right? What McDavid can do at the pace of play and the speed of play that he plays at, nobody can slow the game down the way Nikita Kucherov can. And, when you start to hear some people who have been around the game a long time saying, man, he's approaching Wayne Gretzky territory with the way that he sees the ice and the way that he can make passes. Like, I've kind of heard that stuff over the last little while. And I don't even know what to say. He's just ridiculous. He's just ridiculous. You look up and the other night he's got 5 points. You just look, he got 5 points. Like, what was a stat we saw the other day? He's been more likely this year to have a 4-point game than a 0-point game. I mean, that's the kind of year that he's having. And the way that he works at it, the work that he puts into make his craft that much better. Like, you don't see it, but we hear about it and you kind of know about it. You understand the work that he puts in, but you don't see it till you see the product on the ice. And that's just a byproduct of the work ethic that he has that nobody really sees. And, it's a side of him that he doesn't really let others see, right? Because he doesn't say much and he doesn't talk much and he's not an outspoken personality, which is fine. I'm not suggesting anything otherwise, but we don't get too many windows into that side of Nikita Kucherov. You have to kind of peek through the glass that others are telling you about, right? And that's kind of the situation with him. And again, I still he's one of the most underrated, and I think a lot of ways outside of the market he plays in, underappreciated Hall of Fame players you will ever see.
Yeah, I think you said it right there. One word to describe him is probably just ridiculous. He's insane. Like, that's the question I'm going to pose later on social media. Like, what's one word to describe Nikita Kucherov? It's unbelievable to watch this guy do what he does on a daily basis. And I mean, I kind of like what the forward lines are looking like. It feels like they're kind of settling in. And I think that's the other thing. I was just asking you, what do you want to see during the road trip? I think kind of, obviously we know Coop likes to put the lines in the blender, but we need to see some semblance of consistency and I think an idea of what their lineup is going to look like. And I think at least up front, we know the top 6 can change, but I think we know who those 12 forwards are going to be.
Yeah, provided everybody stays healthy.
Right.
It certainly hasn't been the case this year, but I think getting Nick Paul back kind of balances all that out, especially with the addition of Corey Perry, right? Like, you can have a line that has a couple of menacing guys. I mean, look at the way that I know it was a 4 or 5-2 game, but the way that they played over their final 2 or 3 shifts of the third period, just controlling the puck and getting pucks towards the net and recovering pucks. And, certainly we know the mind games that Corey Perry can play. I still go back to his menacing laugh against Florida in the 2022 playoff series and what that kind of epitomized that series against the Panthers. But yeah, I think that, the Gergensons, Gord, and Holmberg line, I think that's your matchup and your tone setter and your energy line. And, Nick Paul can be he's not a fourth line center, but he can play that role to perfection in a lot of ways. So, yeah, I don't think it's any secret that if the playoffs started, in a couple of days, that these would be your 12 forwards. And, we kind of would know what the lines look like in a lot of ways. And look, Mr. March, Gage Gonsalves, all of a sudden stepping forward with the production, right? Like he kind of took heart to that, the whole, like, how many times did we hear last night we played on our toes?
Yep.
Right. I think everybody that spoke post game, including JJ Moser, who talked to Dave Mishkin on the broadcast last night after the game, used the same phrase. We were on our front foot. And Gage Gonsalves was the epitome of that on the first goal, right? Radish turns McCann into the boards, Gage delivers the hit, separates the puck, he goes and scores the goal. Right. That's playing on your front foot and being aggressive. So if he is going to be the guy that we saw in the second half of last year, and arguably their most consistent forward in the series against the Panthers last year, that's really because that's the one question mark we had, right? That's the one thing we thought maybe Julian would go out and get would be a top 6 forward to kind of play, in one of those roles on the right wing side. But Gonsalves has certainly stepped up his game here. Coming out of the break, and he's got points in 4 straight games. He's got 3 or 4 goals in the past 4 games. I mean, he's kind of finding his game a little bit, and if he's going to be that consistent top 6 guy, I think that answers a lot of questions.
Yeah, and you need guys like that to step up. You need guys that maybe people may not be a household name outside of people in Tampa, but I think about that because getting to know Gage so much over the years, and he's such a student of the game, and he's looked up to these guys, but they don't put you out there with Point and Kucherov or Point and Gensel. Yep. You know what I mean? Like, unless you can do it, and he's proved it. And, he didn't prove it earlier on this year, and he kind of struggled, but he stayed with it. And you got to like that. I think that bodes well for your team going forward when you have guys that can kind of just find it, right? And kind of find it, and, like, you don't have to look outside. Because then I think if another guy's struggling, he can go, well, Gage couldn't find it, and he found it, and now he's in a good spot, rather than thinking, oh man, they're going to trade for somebody else. I think that's a good kind of a lesson for the rest of the players in that dressing room.
Yeah, for sure. And, you talk about development. I mean, like, we kind of forget here too, this is Gage's first full year in the NHL, right? He spent a lot of time up here last year, but he didn't spend the full year up here. Right. So that's all part of development. That's why, we have the conversation about Connor Geekie, and everybody sort of develops at a different pace, right? Some guys find it faster. Some guys need a little bit more time. And Gage, I think the biggest thing with Gage is, especially earlier this year, he was a perimeter player, right? He wanted to play on the perimeter, and you will not survive in the NHL as just a perimeter player. You will be gone before you can blink an eye. I think he's learned, just like the hit last night, right? To deliver the check, right? You don't have to be 6'5" and 240 pounds to deliver hits that make a difference. He just stepped up and delivered a good, hard body check, separated the man from the puck, and went on to kind of make a play, right? So those are the type of things I think he's learned. He's been around the net, right? He's had a couple of deflection goals, being in the right place at the right time, but you're not going to score those type of goals if you're not getting to those harder areas, right? I think that's a big thing that he's kind of evolved in his process this year, is making sure he's that type of a player on a more consistent basis. He's always had the skill set. We've certainly seen the hockey IQ that he has, the understanding, because you're right. You're not going to be put on a line with players who think that game at that level unless you can think the game at that level too. Right. So he's had a lot of the attributes, even going back to his draft when, he was passed over his first year of eligibility. He was a second year overage draftee in the second round, but he was drafted that high because of that skill set and that hockey IQ. He's just now starting to figure out the other aspects that can make you a consistent NHL player. And again, if he's going to continue to evolve his game that way, he's going to find a role in this top 6 once we get to April 19th, 20th, whenever the postseason starts.
E, what do we have up on lightinginsider.com, brother?
Oh, man. Hey, remember that 4-minute shift that the Lightning had against. Yeah, so I talked to some of the guys who were on the ice for that. I talked to Zemgus. I talked to Scott Sabarin, who had a great line. He said for a guy like me, that could be a full period's worth of ice time on one shift. Had a chance to talk to Ryan McDonough about how you survive, basically spending 2.5, 3 consecutive minutes in your own end. When the average shift is 45 seconds in the NHL. So that story is up there. Hopefully people get a chance to read that. Obviously the recap of last night, the story that I wrote leading into last night, kind of showing some of the signs of them getting out of it and then them putting it to use last night. So, hey, follow the trail and you can see some of the insights that I can provide.
Make sure you use that promo code JNZ and follow him on Twitter /X Erik_Erlendsson. That's a K, not a C, 2 S's after the D. Erik Erlendsson, you are the man. Talk to you next Wednesday, my friend. Thank you so much.
All right, buddy. Be well.
You too, buddy. One and only Erik Erlendsson. He is the man. Again, lightninginsider.com. Go check him out. Really like what I saw from the Lightning last night. Just got to keep it rolling tomorrow night. Another late one, folks. Another late one in Vancouver against the Nucks. And then Saturday and Sunday, of course, against Edmonton and Calgary, the Alberta Swing. All right, a big thank you to Erik Erlendsson, a big thank you to Joey Johnston and Bob Harig for joining us on the program today. Couldn't do this without them. Couldn't do it without my partners, Honest Hammer Custom Builders and Evra Health. Make sure, yes, I don't know if the Lightning do, but I know a lot of people do to prevent cramps. But I want more people. We need to get up the challenge. There you go. We're trying to get up to 50 right now. We are at 43, at least 50, at least 7 more. So tell your peeps, get them on the program so you can join in on the bracket challenge. The Jay Recher podcast is the last day to sign up for it. Remember to follow me on all social media platforms at Jay Recher. Like and subscribe on YouTube as well. And if you win the bracket challenge, not only do you get to come on the show and brag about it, but you also get a free large cheese pizza at Alfonso's Pizzeria. Can't beat that. All right. Tonight is almost a little bit of a calm before the storm on a Wednesday before tomorrow. USF tomorrow. Cannot wait. Saladino, all the information up on 813preps.com. So make sure you go check out there. The gold semifinals, we got Bloomingdale in there, Sickles in there, Gaither in there, and Tampa Catholic in there. Unfreaking believable. Should be great. Let's see if Bloomingdale can go back to back. 813preps.com for all your information there. I love you all. We'll see you tomorrow at noon right here on the Jay Recher podcast.